Welcome, everyone, to this week's edition of The Rundown presented by Dick's Sporting Goods. And on this week's edition of the podcast, the Rapids stumble against San Jose Earthquakes, but they got a quick turnaround as they have a midweek match coming up against San Diego FC. That and more on The Rundown. Welcome, everybody, to the Colorado Rapids podcast, and in this week's edition of The Rundown presented by Dick's Sporting Goods, I'm your host, Mike Ravolo, alongside my good friend and resident Rapids legend, Drew Moore. Drewby, how we doing, man?
I'm doing well.
Always good to see you on a Monday morning, man. See, this is the way to start off a Monday.
Oh, for sure.
This is the way to start off a Monday and see you, be on the podcast with the crew. I always enjoy just like sitting down, talking pids. Regardless of the result, we will get into that in a bit. But it's always a very nice way to start a Monday morning because Mondays can Monday sometimes, dude, if you know what I mean.
Of course. I don't think you can start your week off any better than joining your good buddy, Mike Ravolo. So I'm always excited on a Monday morning, and it's beautiful outside. I feel like we had a couple of days of rain last week, and now like the spring weather has really hit. And like I walked out in my yard yesterday, and it was like a forest because all of a sudden they get, the plants get a little bit of water and like they start drinking. And just 2 weeks ago, it seemed like everything was still kind of like barren and dull and wintry. And now it's time that I got to get the hedge trimmers out and the lawnmower and start taking care of the lawn again.
Drew being put to work.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah, I know.
If I ever see the
it's hard
day.
to believe, isn't it? It's hard to picture that, isn't it? But first. Podcast.
Yes, podcast before
priorities.
Anything. So you got your afternoon set after this then.
I do.
So yeah, definitely down for the good weather that's kicking in now in this time of year for Colorado because it can always fluctuate. Even when we're in spring, we've had our pretty cool evenings here and there, but spring weather is really starting to kick into gear now. Yeah. So before we really get into, as we typically do with our looking back at the previous match on the weekend, in this case, which was the Colorado Rapids against the San Jose Earthquakes, just a little note for everybody to be aware of, because of the fact that we have two matches this week. Yep. We're going to have two podcasts this week. So this podcast that you're listening to right now will be in the lead up to the midweek San Diego FC match on Wednesday. That'll be at San Diego. We will do another episode of the podcast previewing the big one. The very big one, which is the Rocky Mountain Cup matchup, the first one of the season against Real Salt Lake, when that match taking place here at Dick's Sporting Goods Park to kick off the Rocky Mountain Cup rivalry this season.
What a week. Like, if you're a Rapids fan, what more could you possibly want?
I'm not going to say no to football.
In San Diego, you on TV Wednesday night, and then here at Dick's Sporting Goods Park on Saturday night against the old rivals.
I'm never going to say no to more football, man. I'm always for it, especially when we're talking some Pids football here. So again, just a reminder that this one episode will be in previewing the San Diego FC match that we have midweek. We will do another one the day after the San Diego match to look ahead to the Rocky Mountain Cup matchup on Saturday. And so just so everybody's in tune, is aware of the fact that we'll have two podcasts this week, albeit each one kind of a little briefer than we typically do, but two podcasts to look ahead to each match that we have this week. We're in the busy season now.
It is.
Busy season now, Drew. So that being said, let's go into the matchup that we had this past weekend here at Dick's Sporting Goods Park, Drew. That was between the Colorado Rapids and the San Jose Earthquakes. And this was the second matchup of the two that typically teams will play. So this is the first repeat match that we had, the first repeat opponent that we had on the season, Drew. And to kick things off with a chance here from Connor Ronan.
We'll talk about Connor. He had a pretty good game and an early opportunity there.
And then of course, not too long after the Earthquakes with a chance themselves.
It's a big save from Zach Steffen early in the match, and Espinoza was a handful all night against the Rapids, but Zach stands up tall and makes a big early save there.
The Earthquakes very late in the first half here. Good movement. DeJuan Jones on the ball, the recent pickup for the San Jose Earthquakes, who Bruce Arena brought in from the New England, or rather from Columbus, but played under Bruce. New England Revolution finds himself the goal for the lead.
And again, it's late in the first half, just a pivotal time of the game. And again, it affects you going into the locker room. And it's a pretty good goal from San Jose. Rapids kind of lose track of DeJuan Jones. This is left wing back to right wing back. And DeJuan Jones, to me, was instrumental all night, both defensively and in attack.
And here, San Jose would find their second. Chicho Arango, who was just aware from that long pass that Chito Awazian was looking for, and finishes with the second.
A bit of fortune in the fact that it ends up right in front of him, but when you play against a player like Arango, who's opportunistic and he's powerful, he's direct, and really didn't didn't do a whole lot on the night, but gets his opportunity and puts it away. And again, it's a bit unlucky from Cheeto. I'm sure if he got to go back and do it again, he would have made a different decision there. But you give good players opportunities, Mike, and they're going to punish you.
Especially a Chicho Arango, who we know in this league is a known quantity in this league, that he's going to score goals no matter where he's gone in this league. So looking at the match stats, Drew, so fairly even in terms of the stats, but we'll get into this discussion of how we felt this game played out. So as it pertains to shots, 11 apiece. Shots on goal, 5 apiece for both the Rapids and the Earthquakes. 4 corners for the Colorado Rapids, 2 for the San Jose Earthquakes. The Rapids with a little less possession at 48% versus the 52% for the San Jose Earthquakes. So, as I said, the match stats, I think, Drew, not entirely reflective of how this match played out. But I wanted to get your thoughts on what you made of the match overall, now that you've had a chance to watch it back and kind of see things you didn't notice the first time around.
Yeah, I thought first half we were pretty good. Overall, created some decent looks. I thought Connor Ronan was very good, very dynamic, just brings something a little bit different. And again, I know we want to chat about him a little bit and the impact that he had in his first start of the season. But I just felt like it felt eerily similar to the DC game almost last weekend, where San Jose were very direct, and I think teams, they're not going to want to play through us as much because of our ability to win the ball high up the field and then go and attack in transition with those opportunities and moments. And San Jose, they didn't play through us, right? They went over the top. We struggled to deal with Chicho Arango and just what a menace he is and how powerful and he's strong and he's a handful, and Espinoza had some joy down the right side. And so I just think we've gotten away a little bit of playing compact and putting other teams on the clock and winning second balls and really just kind of getting a little grimy and dirty and competing for everything, and that's not meant to be a knock by any means, but like, teams want to be direct. They don't want to play through us, and we have to be aware of it. And I don't think San Diego's going to be like that on Wednesday night. That's for a little bit later in the podcast. But, just a bit more bite, a bit more energy, a bit more being the Rapids, And I think we've gone away from that the last couple weeks. And the good thing is we don't need to ask ourselves a whole lot of questions. Everybody wants to answer what's going on. And I think it's pretty simple. I think it's just the Rapids being the Rapids, and we've gone away from that a little bit the last couple weeks.
So it's now 3 games, 3 games or 4. Wow, my memory is getting away from me for you here. But it's the Rapids right now are kind of on a winless streak at the moment. Mm-hmm. So kind of going through a tough stretch. Yep. With especially now that we have a more congested fixture list coming up with midweek San Diego. On the weekend we have Rocky Mountain Cup. So tough stretch right now for the Rapids to kind of endure and then try to find a way to dig themselves out of this winless stretch. But at least one positive that we did see that was definitely of note was Connor Ronan coming back, and he had 3 shots, 2 key passes on the night, his first start of the 2025 season, Drew. Kind of similar to Vinesy, where it was just like be it injuries or one thing or another that just kind of held him back from being able to make an appearance earlier in this season. He was definitely a bright spot, Drew, on the night.
The real bright spot, and on a night with few of them, but Connor, he early in the match got on the ball a bunch, was direct, linked up well with Hoffa a couple times, had a couple good passes. We saw the look on the highlights where he's just, it's a bouncing ball. It's always going to be difficult to keep under the crossbar. But he just brings a little something different, right? Really good in tight spaces. Connor has a little bit of wiggle to him to give him, just buy him a little bit of extra time. His link-up play is very good. He's good on the dribble. He does everything well, and he brings a bit of calmness, right? A bit of calmness in attack. And I want to see him, expand on that. And we don't know who's gonna play, of course, on Wednesday night yet. But I would imagine he's going to feature, and hopefully he's able to, continue to influence that match, because he'll be a big player if he is out there on the field. Connor was a real bright spot on Saturday night.
Yeah, absolutely. Always showing his class. I think he's just a very good player. And of course, it's, with the rotations, when you have that much competition in the midfield between Josh Atencio, Oliver LaRose,
Yeah,
Connor. I mean, it's tough to find a spot in there, but that does not mean, it does not take away from the fact that he's a very good player.
He sure is.
He showed his quality on the night.
He sure did.
And he has shown it ever since he's been at the club, really, especially back to 2023 when he first joined the Colorado Rapids. So, just good to see Connor out there, get a run in, and hopefully be a big part of this important stretch, this busy stretch that the Rapids are going to have with this congested fixture list. A couple things of note as well, Drew. Outside of Connor getting his first start and having a good performance on the night. So Hoffa was subbed out at one point, which literally we've never seen this entire season because, as Chris Armas had mentioned in a post-game press conference, Hoffa's a warrior. But it was more precautionary more than anything, according to Chris, in terms of that situation with Hoffa. So nothing of note, nothing serious. The expectation, I think, would be that Hoffa would be back and available with no problem at all for Wednesday night at San Diego. And then the other note was Cole. Cole coming back after dealing with what was a calf injury, kind of lingered a little bit. Nothing too serious on that front, but I think the coaching staff did not want to take any risks in terms of extending the possibility of him being out further if they wanted to play him. So, so thankfully, it looks like we'll have kind of mostly everybody back. Injuries, that's something that's kind of a little bug that's kind of lingered a little bit here and there at different moments with a lot of players, but nice to see guys coming back or hopefully not sustaining anything serious in the long run. Drew, I wanted to ask you about this stretch, right? As I mentioned, that this is kind of a difficult stretch that the Rapids find themselves in at the moment without a few games without a win. You've been in situations like this before where you feel like you're in a bit of a rut. You had mentioned that maybe this isn't something to be a cause for concern. Most folks would say, 3-4 games without a win. This is what's going on. The world is kind of falling apart. But you mentioned earlier that it just comes down to the Rapids being the Rapids, right? Yeah. In terms of digging themselves out of this hole and finding the solutions to go back to winning ways. No.
Hey, listen, everybody has a solution, right? And that's fair. Everybody has an answer to the question. And I feel like anytime you go through a difficult stretch, a difficult run of form, you just got to go back to your principles, right? What do you do well? And when the Rapids are at their best, they're playing with energy, they're putting other teams on the clock, and they're playing with compactness, right? And they're difficult. They're difficult to play through. They've got a bit of bite to them. They're opportunistic going forward, and that's what you have to go back on to. That's what you have to rely on, right? You go back to your principles, and Armas, he kind of mentioned it in the locker room after the match. The answers are not outside of this locker room. The answers are right here within this locker room, within these four walls, and we have the answers. And so I think you play against DC, you play against San Jose. DC very direct, and we know that that's how they tend to play. San Jose not as direct as DC, but they were on Saturday night, and we didn't deal with it well enough, right? That being said, I think you have a great opportunity here against the San Diego side that will look to overplay, that will look to possess as much as possible. You set the blueprint in motion against them about a month ago here at Dick's Sporting Goods Park. And so what a wonderful opportunity to get things back on track against a very good side at their place. Big moment, big night, big atmosphere. And go be yourselves and give yourselves the opportunity to like I said, pull yourselves back into a good spot. But for me, you go back to general principles and don't overthink it too much.
Yeah, I think that's the encouraging thing is that it just comes down to the Rapids, just finding those solutions and creating those solutions for themselves, as opposed to what are we going to do? Everyone kind of looking around and wondering what the solution is going to be. So I think that is the most encouraging part about this is as long as everything is kind of sorted out in-house, to the rest of the league, beware. Yeah. But that's the most encouraging thing I think to pull out of this. Yes, it's 3-4 games without a win. Sure, it is a difficult stretch right now that the Rapids have endured with not getting the points they felt they should have earned in that stretch. But the wins will come around. I have full faith in this group.
The more answers you look for, the more questions you're going to find, right? So stop looking for answers. Just go be yourself.
Yeah, for sure. Again, I just have full faith in this group. They've just given us every reason to be able to find themselves, if they find themselves in these situations, pull themselves out of it and go back to winning ways.
They're still in a playoff spot.
We're the Rapids are still very much in a playoff spot. And again, still plenty of season to go. Mm-hmm. So, things are not written in stone just yet.
But it's a big month. It's a big month.
Very big month. Very big month. So hopefully, the Rapids can pull off some results along the way in what is a very congested and very important period of the season. that's after looking back at San Jose. But that's quickly in the bin because, again, as we mentioned, we have this midweek match coming up against San Diego. But before we get into that, we wanted to kind of hype up Rocky Mountain Cup. Not that it needs more hyping up, right? But particularly for this Saturday match, of course, Rocky Mountain Cup, huge match. It's the one you circle on the calendar, both fixtures that come up on the year. So, of course, you have the first team game.
Yep.
That'll be at 7:30 p.m. Mountain Time kickoff here at Dick's Sporting Goods Park. But after that match, Drew, I think, which is, I would say, just as important because of what the Rapids Unified team is and what it means really to this club as well, and so many people in this club as well, is they'll be playing their version of the Rocky Mountain Cup rivalry against the Real Salt Lake Unified team. That's something unless I have to be pulled elsewhere for post-game duties, around the first team, I'm definitely going to be out there to watch the game, to tune in, to cheer on the team, the Rapids Unified team. As I mentioned before, that is a very, 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 very big part of this club, the Rapids Unified group, coached by Molly Underly, the wonderful athletes and partners that you have on that group as well. So it is highly, highly, highly encouraged that after that, everybody sticks around after the first team match to tune into the Rapids Unified match against Real Salt Lake Unified. So with every ticket that's bought, a $5 donation is donated to Special Olympics Colorado. And outside of that, if you stick around, Drew, you can earn potential prizes, giveaways. There's certain incentives there that if you do stick around to watch, cheer on both Rapids teams on the night, maybe you get something out of it as well in terms of a little giveaway, a little prize, maybe a flyaway experience, a sweet experience on a game day. So,
pretty good perks there, pretty good opportunities there.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to encourage you to stick around. I'm going to tell you to stick around because this group of young men and women are so fun to watch, so fun to be around. The energy that they bring is incredible. And they wear the Rapids badge with pride, especially when it's for the Rocky Mountain Cup. And I remember last year, the first leg was in Salt Lake, and all the first team players came out of the locker room to watch and support, and we scored kind of a late goal right towards the end of the match, and the bench went absolutely crazy, and it was so much fun, and so please do what you can to stick around and support the Rapids Unified team because they're so much fun to watch. They will, I promise you will not be disappointed, and they will put a smile on your face.
Yeah, it's just nothing but good vibes being around the Rapids Unified team. I always enjoy just watching, being around them, talking to them. It's a grand old good time with Rapids Unified. So make sure obviously you stay you're here for the Rapids first team match against Real Salt Lake, but then you stay afterwards for the match against Real Salt Lake Unified to cheer on both of your Colorado Rapids teams for Rocky Mountain Cup. All right, Jerby, let's get straight into the fact that we want to go into this preview for, like we said, it's going to be a busy week. But to start off, we're going to look at this upcoming match midweek against San Diego FC. The Rapids will be traveling to San Diego for this match. It'll be the second repeat opponent at this point after playing the San Jose Earthquakes this past weekend. So this match at San Diego is going to be on Wednesday, May 14th. 8:30 p.m. Mountain Time at Snapdragon Stadium. You will be there, Juby, on the call on the radio with Connor Cape, which you can have that feed, the radio feed, on MLS Season Pass on Apple TV when you're watching the match on there, unless you plan on being at the match itself. So maybe folks will want to tune into a good old Connor Cape Drew Moore radio call. I know I will be.
You can select it from, it's
which is great.
Actually. Yeah.
Actually. It's very nice and feasible.
When my wife and boys don't go to the game, they go and they'll listen to the radio call. So I feel like I got to be extra on it.
You got to be on it.
Yeah, because they'll let me know when I get home if I didn't do a good job on the radio.
I'm sure the boys are honest. And the misses.
Very honest.
All right. And then looking at the last three matches for San Diego FC, Drew. So they had a 3-1 loss versus RSL, but then they turned things around, which I think that closed out a winless streak that they had of 3 games. Mm-hmm. That started with earning a 5-0 win against Dallas at home, and then going to St. Louis this past weekend with a 2-1 win at Energizer Park. Goals from Olaski and Anders Dreyer. Team comparison in terms of records, Drew: San Diego 6-4-2, Colorado 4-4-4. Points: San Diego have 20, Colorado have 16. Goals: San Diego have scored 23, Colorado have scored 15. Goals against: San Diego have received 16, Colorado 18. And then finally, average possession: I don't think any surprises here. San Diego, 58.6% of the average possession on the season, whereas Colorado has 46.1% on the season so far. Last time out, as we mentioned, this is a second repeat opponent for the Colorado Rapids this season, Drew. So the last time out was here at Dick's Sporting Goods Park about a month ago. That was a 3-2 Rapids win back on April 12th. And the goals that we had were from Georgie off of PK, Darren Yapi, and Rafa Navajo. And then San Diego that had a couple themselves with Luca De La Torre and Tomas Angel. In terms of shots, looking back and just to get a frame of reference in terms of how that game played out, 21 shots for San Diego, 9 for Colorado, 9 on goal for Colorado, 4 on goal for San Diego, 3 corners for Colorado, 5 for San Diego, and then in terms of possession, 41.1% for Colorado and 58.9% for San Diego. You know, even with those possession numbers, we saw how that match played out. Obviously played in favor of the Colorado Rapids, earning that 3-2 win on the night. And I think that match, Drew, between the Colorado Rapids and San Diego that time, I think that the Rapids in some way set a blueprint for themselves, obviously, but I think for the rest of the league in terms of how you can kind of combat this San Diego side that loves to possess the ball, right? They have a couple guys that kind of contribute to that, or maybe play more vertically. And Chucky Lozano, 4 goals, 6 assists on the season. Anders Dreyer, 5 goals, 5 assists on the season. So, this is as no surprises here, Drew, in terms of what to expect out of the San Diego side, right? In terms of that they want to possess the ball and they're going to live and die by that style of play. Is there anything maybe new that you've noticed along the way to keep note of with the San Diego side outside of their possession game that we have already seen this side earlier in the season here at Dick's Sporting Goods Park?
Not really anything new. I would say Anders Dreyer and Chucky Lozano are playing at a very high level right now, and so it reminds me a bit of the Chicho Arango, Christian Espinoza, who we've just played against. But I think San Diego is they're still going to be San Diego. They're going to want to possess the ball. They're going to overplay in the back. McNair and McVeigh, their 2 center backs, are top 5 in the league in touches on the ball, with Jeppe Tverskov number 1 in the league in touches on the ball. And that match, which we just rolled the highlights of on, if you're able to view on YouTube, was exactly what the Rapids need to do right now, to get back to being who they are, but also to play that way against San Diego, right? You have to be compact. You have to, press them up high and put those defenders on the clock, because they are willing to play within their own penalty area. They'll use Dos Santos, the goalkeeper, in possession, and we saw Yapi being a ball thief, Rafa being a ball thief on that night, and we got a lot of good opportunities. Won the PK, from intercepting the ball in their defending third. And so I think San Diego, they're still going to be San Diego, and they're going to want to possess, pass, and then boom, go vertical. Find Dreyer, find Lozano, and try to go from possession to attack as quick as possible. And so I think if the Rapids, play with the energy that they did a month ago against San Diego, and the compactness that they did, not just vertically, but horizontally, across the field as well, they'll set themselves up for a very good opportunity to go on the road and get 3 points. But you have to be careful. San Diego, they like to get after teams early at home. How many times you look at LAFC, Seattle, Dallas, they're 2-3 goals up within 20-30 minutes, and the game's done at that point. And so the start will be key as well. But Rapids, just go be the Rapids.
Yeah, I think that's the most important thing, right? Again, we have seen that the Rapids have provided themselves that blueprint in terms of how to combat this high possession game that San Diego likes to play. They're going to live and die by that playing style. We saw it here at Dick's Sporting Goods Park very clearly in terms of some of the risk that they were willing to kind of play with.
Oh yeah,
to play that game,
yep.
Right? And I'll mention that in a little bit. But in terms of like one player I wanted to keep an eye out on the San Diego side is Anders Dreyer. Yep. I mean, honestly, Drew, there's a list of guys I think that are just so notable on that group that have been so good for them up to this point in the season. But Anders Dreyer is a guy that is just, as we mentioned, he has 5 goals, 5 assists on the season. So he's scoring goals and can provide a pass. For me, that's the reason I want to keep an eye on him, because it can be unpredictable in terms of what to expect out of him, right? Is he going to go for the shot on goal? Is he going to look for the pass in between lines? Or he has different solutions that he provides to the San Diego side to present all sorts of dangers and problems. Mm-hmm. for the opposing team. He's been worth every penny, I think, so far that they've paid for his transfer fee, for his salary, to be a part of the San Diego group, to be a difference maker as a DP. He's absolutely shown that his worth, for sure. So between the goals that he can provide, the assists, his vision of the field, to play a pass for Chucky Lozano, for Andrew Mighton, any other guys that are looking to go the other way and find a goal themselves, Anders Dreyer presents all sorts of problems for opposing teams in this league. He's shown that up to this point, so he's going to be my San Diego player to watch. Whereas for you, who's somebody you want to keep an eye out on for the Rapids?
The man we've talked about already, the bright spot from this last Saturday night, it's Connor Ronan, and we don't know who's going to play yet on Wednesday night at this point, but I imagine Connor will feature, and he needs to continue to bring the energy and the quality that he brought on against San Jose last Saturday night, and especially in those moments where we are able to win the ball high up the pitch, right? His vision, his passing ability, and just his ability to create just a half yard of space, a half second to find passes and to find shots. But even in transition, if we are in possession and we do find him in some of the half spaces and the moments where he tucks inside and can look forward and play forward and combine with whether it's Hoffa or Yappy. Connor Ronan for me is just such a good player, brings something a little bit different, and I think he'll be a big part of the Rapids' attack on Wednesday night when he's on the field.
Certainly so. Need as many bodies and then need as many players available for, again, as we mentioned, was going to be a congested month, a very important month. It's always important just to have players available, let alone the quality of players, and someone like Connor Ronan who's working his way back into match fitness. So it's never going to say no to something like that, right? So in terms of that, those are a couple players that we wanted to keep an eye out on either side of this matchup. In terms of a key to the match, what are you looking for that is going to be clinical for the Rapids to be able to ensure that they could potentially walk out with 3 points against the San Diego side? A tough place to play in Snapdragon Stadium, by the way.
It is, and I guess I gave a lot of this away when just gave my general thoughts about 3 minutes ago on the match. But it's staying compact, man. It's against a team that wants to open you up, that is willing to hit 700-800 passes a game, but they're willing to do it inside their defensive third, and so I think the more that you're able to take away the vertical pass, the passes that break lines with your compactness across the field and staying close to each other. Right, when we played them here previously, Anders Dreyer, the majority of his touches were at the very least in the middle third, maybe even at times in their defensive third. He was trying to come back and get on the ball. He found his way out a couple times, but he constantly had players around him. Chucky Lozano the same way. And so I think if we're able to stay compact and limit their ability to play through us, it's a good blueprint against a San Diego side. And the start of the match will be key, right? You cannot let them get after you, get their fans into the game, stretch you out, score goals. Like, not a chance on Wednesday night. Like, you have to start physical, you have to start aggressive, you have to start with energy. And if you do those two things, then I think you set yourself up well on Wednesday night. And I'm curious to hear your key. I imagine it has something to do with the way they like to overplay there, San Diego.
It very much does, Drew. Like, I want to go off what you had mentioned in terms of the compactness, right? So if the Rapids can kind of stay compact, but also find those moments to implement the high press that we know that this Chris Armas Colorado Rapids side likes to do, and the counter press as well. If we look back to the last match here at Dick's Sporting Goods Park between these two sides, we went through the stats. Like, San Diego had a good chunk of the possession compared to the Colorado Rapids, but all I can remember from that game, outside of the 2 goals and a couple of chances that San Diego had, a lot of their passes were going left and right and going back. So they can have the ball they want, but if they're not doing anything with it or anything effective with it, that's okay. That's fine. No problem. That's on the Rapids just to find the right moments to implement that press. And if you lose possession high up the pitch, implement that counter press as well. We saw various moments, right, where, like we said, San Diego's going to live and die by this possession style of play to the point where they're on their own goal line trying to play out of the back. And they got caught in a couple moments I remember one clearly with Hoffa, like within their own 18, takes the ball off one of their center backs and immediately in San Diego's 18 looking for a chance on goal. So for me, in terms of the Rapids just being the Rapids, if the Rapids can be the Rapids, implement the high press, implement the counter press if they lose possession in their side of the field and the San Diego's side of the field, this is going to be a repeat of the last match where San Diego can have the ball all they want, but they're going to struggle to be effective with it. So pair that with the compactness that you were talking about, Drew, not let them play in between the lines or be vertical, be it through the air or in between the lines on the ground. San Diego's going to have a tough time of it, even at home at Snapdragon Stadium against the Colorado Rapids. So I think for me, Rapids implementing their high press and their counter press is going to be so important to hopefully earn another 3 points against what is a good San Diego side. Sounds
simple, right?
It's easier said than done.
It is, but I think you embrace the opportunity that you have. Forget about what's happened before. I'm sorry to say it. Forget about Rocky Mountain Cup on Wednesday night, right? That will start that on Thursday morning or even after the final whistle on Wednesday night. But go and embrace the opportunity that you have, the challenge that you have against the shiny new toy in Major League Soccer, San Diego FC. It should be a great atmosphere even on a Wednesday night. A team that's finding its form, right? They came into Dick's Sporting Goods Park in pretty good form earlier when we took care of business against them, and then they dipped a little bit because of it, right? So go and be aggressive and be physical and enjoy it, man. I would love to strap on the boots and step out there with them on Wednesday night. Those are the kind of nights that I certainly miss. But go wear your heart on your sleeve and enjoy the opportunity.
You're going, but you'll be on the radio call. But now I'm thinking, like, Chris, is there a way we can, who do we need to call to make sure we get Drew back? Like, I would not mind Drew putting the jersey back on and going out there and playing, because I know I always love seeing you play, dude. Oh man, I
appreciate it, Mike. I just shifted my body here and my back started to hurt a little bit. Okay?
All right, so let's we need to get Drew out to do some recovery, do what he needs to do, and then we'll get Drew ready to play on the pitch Wednesday night.
The answer is leave the guy on the couch. Okay, that's what the answer is. I appreciate that, though.
But you will be, like I mentioned earlier, you're going to be at San Diego. Yep. I'll be here holding down the fort when we do the podcast.
Yep.
The next time around, leading up to Rocky Mountain Cup. You will be on the radio call on Altitude Sports Radio with our good friend Connor Cape.
Yep.
Excuse me. Oh, goodness me. That's going to be Wednesday, May 14th, 8:30 p.m. Mountain Time at Snapdragon Stadium. And like I said, you can watch the match on MLS Season Pass on Apple TV, preferably if you put Drew and Connor on the call there for the night. It's always a good listen to have those two on there. I think that's it, Drew, right? Like, anything else you wanted to kind of cap it off with?
Short and sweet. Let's get back to being who we are and doing what we do and embrace this fun but challenging week. And I'm gonna go mow my lawn now.
Yeah. Okay. In the meantime, I'm gonna make a few calls to the league and talk to Chris and see if we can get Drew ready for the match on Wednesday. But until then, everybody, hope you have a good next few days, because then you guys will catch us in the next few days with another episode of the podcast previewing Rocky Mountain Cup. But until then, we got our match at San Diego FC. Hopefully, we'll be talking 3 points out of that match.
That would be great.
But until then, we'll see you all on the next one.